Hey, it's Nick, and welcome to the Upgraded Executive Podcast, where my good friend Ben and I discuss the tools, techniques, and strategies that you can use to upgrade your own personal and professional performance. We have recorded the first 10 shows, and we will be releasing these over the coming weeks, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out. In this episode, Ben and I are discussing longevity and how longevity is linked to your performance. Hey Ben, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. Very good. So today we're going to talk about longevity and how we can live a long time, but not also live a long time, but have a long health span as well.
Yes. So what does it mean to you when somebody says the word longevity?
Well, to me, it always gives me this sort of image of somebody who is like really old and like frail and post 100 and they might have, mentally they might still be on the money, but it makes me think about, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be old and frail and wrinkly and I think for me, there are a lot of people now talking about, can we really live well into our hundreds? Maybe even late hundreds and beyond. And when people think about that, lots of people think about, well, why would I want to live until I'm 150 and be like really decrepit and brain's not working, my body's not working? But I think people are talking about this kind of stuff now because there's a real sense of, if we can slow down the aging process, and if we can really start to think about having a long health span, not a lifespan, so that maybe when you are 100, you actually got a body and a brain of maybe a 60-year-old. And when you're 120, maybe your body and the brain of a 65-year-old. So that, you're able to push out the number of years, but you're able to have a body and a brain that is far younger than your biological years.
And that's what we're going to talk around, isn't it? That, I don't foresee myself being 120 in a home and I'm mentally not with it and my body's given up. I'd like to be looking and feeling great and feeling uber happy, because there's no point having an extended life if it's miserable and what one doesn't have mobility and is not agile from a mental perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've spoken previously about a chap called Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. I think one of his sayings that I love is that he always wants to have a future that's bigger than his past.
Yes.
And I think that I speak with lots of people around health span and longevity. And some people are like, well, I don't actually want to live that long. What am I going to do? How am I going to be happy? But I think if you are constantly thinking about, how do I have a future that's bigger than my past, why would you ever not want to live for as long as you possibly can?
Yeah. I love Dan Sullivan's mindset as well, which he foresees himself living to over 200 years old. So he equates to being just over a quarter of the way through his lifespan at the moment, which is brilliant. And a lot of this, I think, is in the head.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is mindset related, absolutely. But I think also there are some very practical things that people can be doing that just gives them the best possible chance. And I wrote about this in my book Limitless. I asked the question, can we live to 150? And based on the technology we have now, the answer is no. But with technology moving as fast as it is, if you can live for the next 40 years, there's a good chance that you'll live for the next 100 years.
Sure.
And we'll cover some of the things, some of the technologies coming towards the end of the show. And some of the audience might be thinking, this is quite an unusual topic to bring into the Upgraded Executive show. But the reason that we brought in is because, well, two reasons were really. I think one, whenever I talk to people around their performance, they're super interested. They want to be able to perform better. When I start to talk to people around longevity, they're like so super duper engaged.
Yeah.
And through marketing my own coaching business, I've always had this tension between, do I talk to clients around their personal and professional performance, or do I talk to them about longevity and living longer? And the reason that those two things are interchangeable is because everything that we've spoken about in the first 9 podcasts is going to help you perform better.
Yes.
Also going to help you avoid chronic diseases and help you live longer too.
Yep.
Because if you're naturally thinking about your personal and professional performance and you're doing all the right things to put yourself in the right place physically, mentally, emotionally, you're naturally going to live longer. Now, you might get unlucky, you might come down with some genetic disease or some chronic disease that you didn't foresee, but you're actually giving yourself the best possible chance.
Yeah. Should we talk around the relationship then between performance and longevity?
Yeah, I think so. So for me, I think performance is all about the here and now and how you're performing in your personal life, your working life. And, all the things that we've been talking around, about minimizing stress, upping your energy levels, improving the quality of your sleep, and then layering on everything from flow states and being able to focus on time management, all of those kind of things. But I really think if you're looking at, particularly around the energy levels part, and you're really focused on powering up your mitochondria and giving yourself a huge amount of energy, then when you're doing everything to try and power up your mitochondria and protect them, because they are so critical to the health of your cells, then that's naturally going to put you in a position where biologically, at the cellular level, you're a lot healthier, and that's going to help you have a much longer health span and therefore live longer. So if you only focus on performance and you're sort of optimizing your sleep and you meditate and try and minimize your stress, all of these things will have, benefits and will help you with your health span. If you really start to focus on what gives me a huge amount of energy and what takes my energy away at the cellular mitochondria level, that's the thing that's going to give you the best chance of having a much longer health span.
Yep. Completely agree.
And I'm not going to go into the science behind mitochondria because I think we covered that in the first few episodes. But just to recap, the mitochondria are not only responsible for 85% of all of the energy production in our bodies, but they're also responsible for signaling to the cell when to live or die.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most crucial parts here, is that you want the mitochondria performing optimally, because if they aren't, then it ends up in a vicious circle where they're getting dysfunctional, they're not telling the cells to die, and they just proliferate.
Yes.
So anything you can do to help your body at that level is absolutely key. And I think one of the things that we haven't covered, Ben, and I think it's probably worthwhile just touching on quickly, is that we've spoken around supplements that boost the mitochondria and how they make more energy off fatty acids, etc. But we are exposed to so many toxins now in our environment. It's the toxins that can have a massive negative effect on mitochondria. Yeah. So we want to try and protect them as much as possible. So any toxins that are in the environment and in the food chain, you want to try and minimize as much as possible, because those are what hammer your mitochondria and make them perform worse. Yep. So it's all about trying to power them up and trying to protect them. And then by looking at it from a cellular level, you will massively improve your performance here and now. It's also going to give you the best chance of living, for the next 40 years, which means you can live for the next 100 years.
And it's worth reminding people to watch all of the episodes, especially the first 3 around getting better quality sleep, increasing energy levels, and reducing stress.
Yes.
Because those will have a massive difference if somebody's in the right place with all of those and maximising each one to prolonging their lifespan.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think, Ben, one of the big things here too is that first 10 episodes, there's a huge amount of information there.
Yeah.
there is a huge amount of content that's really going to help people.
Yep.
And we'll get some feedback from the audience on what comes next. Maybe we can go deeper into certain topics. But if you look at the first 10, there was so much content there. Some of the audience will be thinking, well, are you expecting me now to clean up my diet, improve my sleep, track my biomarkers, don't drink any alcohol, only eat good foods? I guess that's not the point that we're trying to make. I think the point that we're trying to make is that layer these things on over a period of time, and don't feel as though you have to live like a monk and sleep in a cave and only eat organic vegetables and never drink alcohol. That's not what we're advocating. I think one of the things that we're advocating is make these performance improvements, but also have some balance and live a life.
Yeah,
because I think the point that you made was key. If you want to improve your performance, then you want to do it and be happy. Yeah. If you want to live until you're 120, you want to have 120 happy years, not be miserable because you're sort of, you're depriving yourself of some of the things that give you enjoyment in life. And I think it's all about balance and moderation. I think some of the things in the first 10 episodes will absolutely resonate with some people, and they'll go all in. There will be some things that don't, and that's fine.
I'd say two things as well in my experience, that when I started my journey a year ago with the biohacking stuff, some stuff really resonated, and some stuff I just didn't get, and I found it difficult to include in terms of my my lifestyle and my day plan. But once I started to see some gains in terms of the stuff that I was really interested in and passionate about, it made doing the other stuff a lot easier. So I don't think it matters too much where somebody starts with a lot of this, but I'd personally start with, what am I really interested in? Start there, see if it works for you. I suspect it will, and that'll make doing the other stuff easier and fun.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because there is still some things that I haven't really embraced yet. I think some of it is because it's just not resonating with me just yet.
Yep.
Or there's other things I'm working on that are more important, and therefore trying not to overload myself with too many things.
Yeah.
But this is absolutely a journey, and there will be some things that resonate with you straight away, and particularly if you're the kind of person that likes data and likes making data-enabled decisions, things like the Oura Ring, biome, and some of the other things that we mentioned, give you data where, I absolutely love waking up in the morning and checking my Oura Rings. Have I slept? And I think I'm now really passionate about optimizing my sleep. And that's something that really resonates with me, but may not resonate with some other people. So, as you say, it doesn't matter where you start, just start somewhere, even as simple as, I'm going to start with bulletproof coffee. Because this is where I started.
Yeah.
And then, what you find is something works for you, and then it gives you a little boost of energy and a little bit of boost of enthusiasm and momentum. That means that you'll try something else and try something else. And then before you know it, it's sort of 12 months down the road, and you look back on the journey you've been on and you think, wow, I've introduced all these things into my life and I feel so much better.
And I don't know about you, but I found other people observing that in me as well, in terms of positive changes, going, what's happened? You're different. You look fitter, you seem a hell of a lot happier and on it. So, which was great actually, in terms of, this, I feel like it's working, and it is, because people that I know really well or don't know that well were commenting quickly.
That is a really, really good point. And I think what you'll find is, Ben, and other people will find this, because it's a really sort of common occurrence, is people notice the difference in you. And it could be maybe you lost some weight, maybe you just seem happier, maybe your mindset's changed, maybe your skin just looks brighter and fresher. And then what starts happening is they get curious. Because first of all, they're quite skeptical. So when I went on this journey, then my wife started doing some of the things that I do. And then my mum did. and then my brother-in-law did.
Mm.
And then my friends around me started interested in saying, oh, could I try that supplement? Or can you give me some advice on fasting? And then before you know it, there's a group of people around you that are quite close friends and family that start following these principles.
Yeah.
And it's quite an amazing thing, because I love working with clients one-on-one, but when you start seeing people around you that you care, at a deep emotional level for, start making these performance improvements, and it's not only helping them in their performance here and now, but actually it's going to help them live a lot longer.
Yeah.
And particularly with my son too, I'm his dad, so he looks up to me in a big way, but he's doing, if you look at the 10 episodes, a lot of those things that he's old enough to do, he's actually doing. And that brings me a huge amount of joy, because not only is it going to help him in his schoolwork, but it's also going to help him live a lot longer.
Yeah. Now,
it could well be that he gets to 18 and he finds fast cars and fast girls and alcohol and all my good work for the first 18 years goes out the window. But that's his choice. But as a parent, all you can do is try and set them up in the best possible place.
Yeah, and what a great array of techniques to have at a young age, and what a great platform to have at that age. Yeah. I was also going to say, I've not done this particularly well in terms of consistency, and I think with a lot of the stuff that we're talking around and we do ourselves, I'm now aware that I don't need to go 95 miles an hour all the time. I can throttle back, and I'm more consistent when I do. So this is definitely a marathon that doesn't finish, and not a sprint. So having that mindset that 80% is good enough. And when I've had that mindset, I've been a lot more consistent about everything, actually. Whereas before, I'd probably overdo it. And we've talked around balance in another episode. But that's really made a difference with, that's fine. Just keep consistently doing this stuff, little by little. That's what matters, as opposed to everything and then falling over or just being overwhelmed by all of it and not doing any of it. So small and often's good.
Yeah, I think
about the snipers, is the line slow, smooth, fast?
I'm not sure.
I think so in the States.
Good. That resonates with me, Ben, because there is one of the drivers for me doing this podcast with you and one of the drivers for me writing the book was, this information is out there. Okay, you can listen to podcasts, you can go on YouTube. What we're telling people isn't anything new. This isn't Nick and Ben's invention. And if you're highly skeptical around some of the things that we've been talking about, just Google them. Okay. But I find that they're not that accessible. Yeah, there are lots of people doing podcasts that go really deep into these topics. And I wanted us to try and create a gateway that's accessible for this. And, we haven't gone too deep purposefully because we didn't want to lose people on this journey. And the thing I'd say is the first 10 are just scratching the surface. But we're giving people the ability to go deeper if they want to. And the really interesting thing is that, if I brought up my spreadsheet of the performance improvement things that I want to look into, research, try out, the list is probably over 100 things. And this area is moving incredibly quickly. So I love the analogy of it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, because the journey never ends. And once you start the journey, just be prepared that it's a journey that is going to evolve over time. And just when you think you've hit 80% and 90%, you'll discover something that shows you there's a lot more headroom to your performance. Now, whether that be a certain supplement, whether that be neurofeedback that we discussed in the last episode. So I'm always open that, whilst I'm feeling great now and I'm feeling highly energized and I feel, I'm probably 90% of the way there, it may well be in, 2 or 3 years' time, that what is my 90% now may actually be my 60% because I found more headroom.
Yes.
So I think it's really important that people look upon this as being a journey and don't get overwhelmed.
Do you know, my takeaway as well is that, and this is all the stuff that we're talking around Advocate and Do, as well as the mindfulness. So for me, it's so important that, as well as the practical techniques, it's overlaid with the subconscious, clearing the mind, and they come together. But my baseline goes up every day. So I'll still have ups and downs, but I know I can see the progress that I've made. And that's, again, with consistency behind this. But my baseline is getting better each day in terms of how I'm feeling.
I think it's really interesting that if you do have the ability to be able to track some of your metrics, so whether it's tracking some blood work over time, or my favorite is tracking my sleep scores with my Oura. You can see a trend over time. So if I look from one night to the next, my sleep scores might be doing this, which is sort of interesting. But if my sleep score goes down, then it's probably because I've drunk some alcohol or I've had a late night. But what I'm more focused on is over a 12-month period, what's the trend?
Yeah.
I think that's the place where people need to focus is, I'm on a journey, therefore am I trending in the right direction, rather than, worrying about, I had that thing that I shouldn't have eaten and therefore, I'm going to pack this diet lifestyle in for, forever until I come back to it when I feel really depressed because I need to lose some weight or something. You need to think about, okay, I didn't have a good workout, I didn't have a good meal, I didn't have a good night's sleep, but that's fine because I'm on a journey.
Yeah.
So when it comes to longevity and health span, so Ben, when I was talking earlier around lifespan, health span, there's this theme out there in the industry around if you can live for the next 40, you can probably live for the next 100. And you've got a lot of people now openly talking about that they're going to live well into the hundreds, and people like Dan Sullivan, Peter Diamandis, Dave Asprey, people that spring to mind who are openly talking about, like Dave Asprey's talking about living to 180. And he's very open in saying, the technology isn't there yet, but he's banking on the technology being there that's going to help accelerate it. I think there's two really interesting technologies that are pure now that are definitely going to help. One is called CRISPR, which is CRISPR, and that's actually gene editing. So they can now go in and edit genes, which sounds like science fiction stuff. So they can actually remove any genetic disorders, which sounds frightening because just imagine them creating these superhumans. And it's a very regulated technology. I think now the first gene editing has just been done on humans. I saw an article the other day, a lady in the States with sickle cell. So they're going to do CRISPR on her to remove the sickle cell.
Yes.
Now, I don't know a huge amount of CRISPR. I don't know a huge amount about CRISPR, and I would imagine it's going to be more geared towards the genetic disorders.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any genetic disorders, there's a general thing around just human wear and tear. We are walking around, we're moving around. There's wear and tear on our joints. There's wear and tear on our organs. There's wear and tear on our brains. Well, what's been very, very popular is stem cell therapy.
Yes.
And stem cell therapy, probably back in the 90s, had a really bad name because they were taking placentas from unborn babies, extracting the stem cells, injecting them into people, and it just left this really bad taste in people's mouths. And I think that still happens in South America, but it doesn't happen in the States or Europe. But what they are able to do now is they're able to harvest our own stem cells from our bone marrow or fat stores. And what stem cells do is they're able to turn into any other cells in the body. So if you were to, say, inject stem cells into a shoulder injury, it would rejuvenate the shoulder injury. It's actually cheaper now to have stem cell therapy on your knees rather than having a knee replacement in the States. Okay. Now, people are now also taking stem cells intravenously, and then the stem cells will travel to anywhere in the body where they're needed and repair that area. So we're starting to see now some technologies emerge that are able to regenerate and rejuvenate the human body. They can't be used in every single situation, but they can be used in a lot. And the amount of money being poured into stem cell research and anti-aging is in the billions and billions of pounds and dollars. So those are examples of just two technologies coming down the road. There are so many more.
Can you talk us around Dr. Harry Elson's work?
Yeah, so I saw Dr. Harry talk at the Bulletproof Conference. He's also at the Health Optimization Summit in London this year. Harry has been one of the people behind doing a lot of Dave Asprey's stem cells. And Dave Asprey's had them injected everywhere, from his penis through to intravenously. I think he's even had them injected into his brain, which sounds pretty extreme. But one of Harry's moonshots, one of his big ambitions, is to have stem cell treatment in every single surgery in the US. He wants to try and make the procedure affordable enough that it becomes a sort of a common modality to treat people.
Sure.
But that's a pretty big ambition. But I think it's like anything, Ben, something starts out as uber expensive that only can be accessed by the elite, and then it then starts to become more accessible, cheaper, until I'm sure at one stage lots of the common medicines that we take now were pretty mega expensive. I think that when stem cells become a lot more affordable, that's when we'll see them used to treat a lot more conditions.
Sure.
I think it does raise an interesting question that is not for us to answer on this podcast, but if the world of anti-aging comes to a point where we all can start living longer, and we do extend our lifespans well into the hundreds, what do we do with population and the population growth? And is there going to be some killer virus that evolves that comes and wipes out half the human race? Who knows? I think for me, I'm being quite selfish. If I can live a lot longer, I'm going to want to live a lot longer. And how society handles that, we'll find a way to handle it.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing to probably just close on is that one of the things that the audience need to be aware of is that, yes, we have this ability to live a lot longer, and it's definitely going to come. And yes, if we can live for the next 40, you can probably live for the next 100. But with chronic diseases rising at the rate they are, and things like cancer and Alzheimer's and dementia and heart disease, strokes, those statistics are frightening. And I think that you need to do everything you possibly can to keep yourself physically, mentally, emotionally healthy for as long as you can, and technology catches up. Yeah, agreed. So I think in summary, make sure you listen to all the first 9.
Yes.
And implement whatever keeps you enthused and interested, and keep in mind that you're on a journey, and the journey never ends. And that also, by doing these things to improve your performance, you may also give yourself the best possible chance to have a much longer health span too.
Great stuff. Thanks, Nick.
Cool. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you for listening, and we hope that you enjoyed the show. You can find the video, audio, and detailed show notes at www.upgradedexecutive.com. At the end of this 10-episode podcast series, we will send all of our subscribers an exclusive ebook which summarises everything that Ben and I discuss on the show. Be sure to leave your details on our website. You can also find us on all of our social platforms at Connect with UE.